Hello. Hey, thanks for joining me today. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for looking at this video. I appreciate it. I thought I'd keep it light today. We're still in the messy middle, really the 2 weeks of awkward work days mixed in with holidays. Can't wait for Monday. Hopefully we all get back to work, nose to the grindstone, full speed ahead. But today I thought I would share an article from Small Biz Technology. The name of the article is 10 Phrases That Sound Polite but actually reveal a lack of emotional intelligence. The article is written by Tina Fey. And you go, gosh, Ron, emotional intelligence, what are you talking about? Well, the words we say, the scripts we use, the empathy that we use, the relationships that we create are all cornerstones of sales. And part of that is emotional intelligence, right? And the emotional intelligence is are you aware of your emotions, and are you aware of the person's emotion whom you're speaking with, and are you sensitive to them? That's the easiest way to think of emotional intelligence. And we need to use a lot of emotional intelligence when we're doing sales. We need to 100% empathize. We have to understand. And so this article talks about 10 common phrases we use that may sound polite, but really show a low level of emotional intelligence. So we'll cover all 10 really quickly. It'll be fun. See if you say any of these things. I'm guilty of saying a couple of them. I'm guilty of saying at least one of them, and I'll confess to it when we get to it. But here's the first phrase is calm down. Now calm down, as you would expect, is dismissive. It's insensitive, and it essentially suggests that the person's feelings are illegitimate. And instead of saying calm down, what you might say is, I see this is really upsetting you. And that's much better than calm down. Next phrase is no offense, but. There's a few phrases on this list that are like this, that they're really just phrase cloaked in either bad or insensitive behavior, right? And so when we say no offense, it often means that we're about to cause offense, and that we think by saying no offense that we can go ahead and make that trespass. Well, you can't. As soon as we say no offense, but the person who's hearing it is going to immediately put their guard up. It's best not to use those words. Number 3 is I'm sorry you feel that way. Now, I've occasionally said this, mainly when I'm at a loss, when I don't understand that person's feelings at all. Usually when I don't understand a person's feelings at all in reaction to me, like, I'm sorry you feel that way, because I'm bewildered on why you feel that way and I have nothing else to say. But in so saying, I'm showing my poor emotional intelligence. Because what happens when I say, I'm so sorry you feel that way, or when anyone says that phrase puts the blames on the person's feelings you're talking to versus addressing the problem that caused them, specifically addressing your behavior. Instead, you're making it their fault. It's interesting. The author in this article quotes a Harvard Business School study that found such apologies can have a negative impact on social relationships, especially compared to a genuine apology. So instead of saying, I'm sorry you feel that way, you would have to say, I'm sorry I made you feel that way. Would be a much better emotionally intelligent thing to say. So, 4th phrase, I'm just being honest. Once again, this is a phrase in which we cloak usually a possible hurtful comment. I'm just being honest, and here's a hurtful comment. And we're doing the hurtful comment under the guise of honesty, when in truth, we shouldn't have to say I'm just being honest. We shouldn't have to put a cloak or a guise of honesty to deliver information. Instead, we need to do it with empathy, and we can't use that I'm just being honest as an excuse. And that's the thing. True emotional intelligence lies in balancing honesty and empathy and ensuring your words are both truthful and yet kind. The 5th phrase is at least. And at least is when we go, well, like somebody could go, hey, I had a horrible day at the job today. And we go, well, at least you have a job. That at least qualifier and trying to minimize a person's situation or minimize the person's feelings or experiences, it immediately invalidates what they're trying to communicate, which is the wrong thing to communicate. We should say, I'm sorry you had a bad day. Tell me about it. Not, at least you have a job. I think we'd all know that. Number 6, pretty straightforward. You always or you never. Whenever we say you always or you never, that's obvious, right? Because they're hurtful to the person receiving them, because they're definitive and absolute, and they leave no room for exceptions or change. You're just telling somebody they're always bad with no hope for redemption or improvement. And so it's not only disheartening, it's dismissive. And of course, we can understand that. Number 7, maybe we say this when we're teenagers. I don't know an adult that says this, that you're too sensitive. Now, if somebody was truly too sensitive, telling them that they were too sensitive really wouldn't be a good strategy, right? I mean, we'd have to pick another strategy there, right? But when you tell somebody they're too sensitive, you're telling them their feelings are invalid and that they're wrong. And you know what? It dismisses their emotions. It implies, of course, they're overreacting. And it'd be far better to acknowledge how they're feeling than to tell them that their feelings are too much or too sensitive. That makes sense. Now, number 8, we've all said this, and this is an interesting one. I don't know if we've all said it, but people frequently say this. I don't, because I actually enjoy this part. It says, the phrase is, I don't want to argue, right? And on the surface, this seems like a peaceful statement that's meant to avoid conflict. But you know what, in reality, is you could be shutting down an important conversation, right? Because, sometimes confrontation or conflict isn't bad as long as it's done respectfully, right? And with empathy. Sometimes we need to have disagreements. Sometimes we need to talk through disagreements. Sometimes we need to confront our disagreements. And when we say, I don't want to argue, you're really just shutting it down and dismissing it, which is not necessarily your best choice. Because being emotionally intelligent isn't about running away from feelings or running away from conflict. It's about, empathizing with the other person's emotion and understanding your own. Number 9, it's no big deal. This is obvious. If you're saying it's no big deal, you're obviously making that person feel dismissive. You're dismissing that person and you're invalidating their feelings. You're saying that their feelings don't matter and that they're overreacting, and such overreaction isn't warranted. And instead of saying, this is not a big deal, you might say, I can see this really matters to you. See how that's completely opposite? And that's showing more emotional intelligence. Now, the 10th one, this is the one I'm actually guilty of. I'm not guilty of it, I don't think, in the way they're saying, but I'm guilty of using these words, which are just kidding. And see, just kidding is a cover-up oftentimes where you think you can use humor to cover up a hurtful comment, right? It's like taking the sting out of a hurtful comment, right? But the fact is that emotionally intelligent people don't, hurt people with their humor, right? And so when you have to take the sting out by just saying, just kidding, probably shouldn't have said it at all. And I'm possibly quite guilty of this, as my wife would tell you. So those are the 10 things. As you can see, this all matters in our scripts. It all matters in our conversations, how we listen and interact with our clients and our coworkers. And so just wrapping this up as the article wraps up, emotional intelligence was a term coined by psychologists John Mayer and Peter Salovey. It refers to the ability to identify, understand, and manage emotions, which is something that we absolutely have to do, especially in the times of chaos and conflict that happens oftentimes in a transaction. So there you go. This Saturday in the messy 2 weeks, we're nearly through. I can't wait. I appreciate you guys come back. I did do a post on this just in case you want to check in on LinkedIn. I will put a link to the article below if you're interested in getting to it. That's it. Tomorrow, I'm locked and loaded. This I'm giving you a little foreshadow. I'm doing a book that isn't about emotional intelligence, but links to it. Tomorrow on my book review Sunday. Can't wait to get to it. I hope you guys stop by. Hope you're having a great week. Hope you have great holidays. Can't wait for Monday. Can't wait to get back on that hamster wheel. Thanks so much. I'll talk to you soon.